Chapter 3 Thoughts. Vanitas chuckled as he floated in the lanes between. While he always used the corridors of darkness to travel between worlds, this was a special occasion. He could see Ventus proceeding towards some worlds atop his Keyblade glider. He hadn't seen Ven in a while, but the kid hadn't exactly changed much. His heart of light was flimsy and weak, no match for Vanitas's. From what he could sense of Ven's heart, it was constantly flip-flopping back and forth between doubt and hope. Maybe it was about time to get this party started. Bolstering the darkness around himself, Vanitas moved toward Ventus. Just believe. Terra's thoughts turned toward Cinderella as he spurred his flying Keyblade. Not just Cinderella, but Snow White and Princess Aurora too, the three princesses whose hearts were filled with light. Had the Unversed appeared in their worlds because they were after the princesses? Or was it something else? Would Terra learn something if he stuck to the plan and sought out the princesses? Just then, a single world rose into view, a lofty spire known as the Mysterious Tower, the world that the great Yen Sid called home, he believed. If everything had started because of Yen Sid's message to Master Ericus, then Terra could gain some insight if he spoke to him. Terra landed at the Mysterious Tower. This world was a bit different from the others, exceedingly strange in fact. Even when viewed as a world, the tower seemed like it was connected directly to the lanes between. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to call it less a world and more of a special island in the ocean between. As Terra walked toward the tower, someone suddenly came running from its entrance, holding a Keyblade. A disciple of Yen Sid? Aside from the Keyblade, this newcomer, Mickey Mouse, was holding a glowing star-shaped object. When he raised the star to the sky, it flashed with light, and Mickey vanished along with it. Ven refused to believe anything he heard from Maleficent or that old woman from Snow White's world. It was like Aqua said, Terra would never do that. Meeting Cinderella had also revived his faith in his friend. Ven thought about him as he rode on his Keyblade. All of a sudden, he froze as he sensed an ominous presence. What's going on? When Ven whipped his head around to look back, he spotted that boy in the mask. Flying unaided in the lanes between, the boy faced Ven as he passed by. Ven couldn't see his expression behind the mask, but he had a feeling the boy was laughing at him. Still staring at Ven, the boy slid backward away from him. Ven wouldn't have had to worry like this at all if it hadn't been for this boy and his comments. Him again! Ven hissed under his breath, then gave chase. Ven landed on a rocky wasteland. He couldn't sense any signs of habitation. A powerful gust of wind blew by. Where's he hiding? Looking and listening closely, Ven spun around when he sensed a presence behind him. There stood the boy in the mask. All right, what did you mean about Terra being a different person? He nearly shouted. He was so tense, he could hardly breathe. Exactly what I said, idiot. The Terra you know will be gone forever. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The boy's words were as cryptic now as they were the first time Ven encountered him. Plus, he had no idea who the boy was. It filled him with so much doubt. He was unsure of whether the connection to Terra was the main source of his anxiety or something else. Stupid or true, he said quietly, perhaps intentionally so, and the boy thrust his right hand out straight ahead. What flashed into his fist was... a Keyblade? Ven gasped in spite of himself. He could wield a Keyblade too? Ven had never seen another person with a Keyblade aside from Terra, Aqua, and Master Ericus. The ability to wield one was supposedly quite difficult to obtain. Still, he didn't have time for wonder or hesitation. Ven summoned his own Keyblade and readied it. Good. Let's see what you're made of, the boy said. He closed the distance between them in the space of a breath. Keyblade met Keyblade and sparks flew. Knocked back by the boy's upper slash, Ven retreated, but his opponent closed that gap as well. Ven barely managed to stop the boy's strike and fell to his knees. Ugh! His right hand, his Keyblade hand, was numb from the impact. This was the first time Ven had received such a powerful blow. The Unversed didn't attack like this, and the only other fights he'd been in were against Terra and Aqua in training. Oh, his friends had been holding back, going easy on him. Pathetic. The boy scoffed. An instant later, his Keyblade swung straight up into Ven's jaw. Ven's body hurled through the air, then crashed to the ground. That really all you got? Man, you are worthless. Ven could hear the boy's voice. He tasted iron, and the inside of his mouth was gritty with sand. He couldn't get up. Terra, Aqua, I'd be going against the Master's orders, but so what? As far as I'm concerned, your job here is done. Close by, Ven could sense someone else approaching, but he still couldn't move. He had to get up. There was a loud roar and a wave of heat. This was it, or so Ven thought, when his body was buoyed up. Don't worry, you're safe. The voice was unfamiliar. Who? Heal! With that cry, Ven felt something wrapping around him, ever so slightly warm. It was recovery magic. Strength surged through his body. Lifting his face, he spied a figure he had never seen before wielding a keyblade. His savior had big black ears and a thin tail. Turning away from Ven, he thrust his keyblade toward the boy. Tell me where you got that. Keyblades are not something you use just to bully somebody around. Here, I'll show ya. Ven bounced to his feet and moved up beside him. We both will. Ven might not have been able to win on his own, but with backup, it was a different story. It wasn't cool to just lie down and let him win. Big deal. 2 losers instead of 1. The boy readied his own keyblade. Let's go! Ven sprinted forward, swinging his keyblade at the boy. He didn't know why, but he could feel great strength welling up within him. Maybe because he wasn't alone. Ven heard someone leap behind him, and his ally was whirling through the air at the boy. His hits were landing. Perhaps feeling concerned, the boy vanished, until he reappeared in midair and hammered down with his keyblade straight toward Ven. Ven solidly blocked the blow, and in a complete reversal of earlier, it was now the boy in the mask being driven back. When Ven countered with an attack of his own, the boy dropped to his knees. Ven's ally followed up with a spinning strike, and even his formidable fighter was slammed on his back into the ground. He still got quickly to his feet, but he was very out of breath. Over here! Ven's ally shouted, and he and Ven held up their keyblades toward the boy, and the light from their weapons pummeled him. He collapsed onto the ground, spread eagle. That's enough! Ven's ally yelled, pointing his keyblade at the boy, but the boy suddenly leaped to his feet, as if he'd hardly been wounded at all. Inky darkness rose around him as he stood before Ven and his ally, who raised their keyblades instinctively. You win. Consider yourself on probation. With that, the boy disappeared into the blackness. Probation for what? Ven muttered, dismissing his keyblade and turning to face his benefactor, although it was hard to directly face someone so much shorter. Ven didn't have much experience speaking to people like this. He was always the one craning his head upward when he talked to Terra and Aqua, after all. Thanks for before. I owe ya. The name's Ventus. What's yours? I'm Mickey, answered the newcomer with a grin. Ven bent over and inspected the keyblade Mickey held. I see you've got a keyblade. Yup, I've been training under the great Yen Sid. Mickey dismissed his keyblade and continued. He found out the worlds are in trouble, and I sort of took off without telling him. Well, that makes both of us. I ran off too. Ven couldn't help but smile when he replied to his fellow runaway. Mickey pulled out a large, star-shaped object. All I have to do is think it, and the star shard will take me anywhere I want to go. At least I thought it would. Mickey lowered his gaze dejectedly. I haven't quite got the fine points down, like when or where. It just kinda kicks in whenever it wants to. But I wouldn't have met you if it hadn't brought me here. He smiled at Ven, and Ven responded in kind. You know, it might not be an accident. Maybe it starts working because it's reacting to something. As Ven and Mickey peered at the star shard, it began to radiate a light so bright that Ven had to close his eyes. The luminescence swallowed the pair, and then they were gone. Atop the mysterious tower, Terra made sure he was presentable and knocked on the door. Excuse me. After announcing himself politely, he opened the door. Upon doing so, an elderly man slowly turned from the window to meet him. He had a pointed hat and a long white beard, as well as fierce, penetrating eyes. So this was Yen Sid. My name is Terra. He was about to continue with his self-introduction when Yen Sid spoke in a soft yet commanding tone. Yes, Ericus's pupil. I've been expecting you. It is the unversed. He replied as he sat himself in a chair. It would seem he knew everything. Yes, Master Yen Sid. I thought it was best to seek out counsel of one wiser than myself. I am no longer a master. I doffed that mantle. But sir, wasn't that your pupil I passed on the way in? He had a keyblade.
You refer to Mickey,
said Yen Sid with a little sigh, cutting Terra short.
He too sought guidance here. As a king, he is good and kind, but the weight of a crown has not yet cured him of impetuousness. He is left with my star shard, an object whose power he does not understand nor know how to control.
This was the first Terra had heard about a star shard. I wonder what that is, he thought for a second before Yen Sid continued.
Mickey imagines it will be of help in his current quest, and, like you, he is eager to use his keyblade to set things right.
I'm not sure I even understand what's wrong. Master Xehanort is missing, and now I've heard there's a masked boy who is controlling those unversed on the loose.
To arrive at the truth, perhaps you should approach things differently. First, consider them one and the same problem.
Yen Sid briefly closed his eyes in contemplation. Terra pressed him for more.
Master Xehanort and the Unversed are connected somehow? I must not make assumptions.
Yen Sid lowered his gaze and shook his head slightly, then raised his head and issued an order in a commanding voice.
Find Xehanort, Terra. That is where you should begin.
Yes, sir. Thank you for everything. I'll be going now. Terra bowed and took his leave. Before he did anything else, Terra had to find Master Xehanort and speak to him.
I had hoped, Xehanort, your heart would no longer lead you astray,
Yen Sid, after Terra was out of earshot. Master Xehanort stared into the distance amidst the gusting wind. This was the ancient battleground, the graveyard where thousands of keyblades rested. He noticed a disturbance in the air behind him, and the masked boy, Vanitas, appeared. Without turning around, Master Xehanort reprimanded him.
That wasn't part of the plan.
Come on, I was just having a little fun. Vanitas didn't pay the scolding any mind, though.
What's done is done. The hour is almost here.
The apprentice of his one-time comrade Yen Sid had come, as had Ventus and Vanitas. It was high time Terra joined them in the mix.
You had better get going. I'll be along later.
Going where?
The City of Light.
Master Xehanort replied with a slow chuckle. Terra's keyblade glider raced smoothly down in the lanes between. Where was Master Xehanort? His only option was probably to just keep checking on worlds one by one.
Terra!
A voice abruptly echoed in his mind, and it belonged to Master Xehanort? He asked without thinking. The voice echoed again.
Terra, come see me at once.
Along with the voice, a world rose in the darkness of the sea between. Guided by the voice of Master Xehanort, who seemed to know Terra was searching for him, Terra set a new course. The world Terra found was an uninhabited wasteland where a raging wind kicked up clouds of dust. He touched down on top of one of the steep, looming cliffs. It was where Master Xehanort awaited him.
Master Xehanort, I've been to other worlds. I know about all the things you've done. I just don't understand why.
Though Terra started in with the questions immediately, Master Xehanort shook his head quietly. Now then, how best to guide Terra into becoming his vessel? The fierce light in Terra's eyes also empowered the darkness within him. The stronger the light, the deeper the shadow, and that would be Terra's path into the darkness. Master Xehanort would play the part of a contrite old man with regrets in the past. Exactly like this foolish boy who only believed he stole Princess Aurora's heart, and never stopped to question the source of his anguish.
Someone had to safeguard the light from the demon I unleashed.
Master Xehanort said to Terra,
You must know about the boy by now, the one with the mask. His name is Vanitas, a creature of pure darkness, one of my making.
Vanitas, are you telling me he came from you? Master Xehanort shook his head softly.
He came from Ventus.
Ventus. As Terra's eyes opened wide in surprise, Master Xehanort seized the opportunity to swiftly spin his tail and throw him into confusion with falsehoods.
Yes, Vanitas is the darkness that was inside your friend. While training with me, Ventus succumbed to darkness, and there was but one way to save him, to strip that part of him away. And thus, Vanitas was made.
But Master Xehanort's story was not finished.
In the process, I damaged Ventus's heart in the most horrific way. So I did what I felt was right, and left him with Ericus. I knew the boy could not stay with me, the man who did him such grievous harm."
Master Xehanort closed his eyes with a pained expression to sell his confession. He turned away from the speechless young man and stared into the distance. It was true that Ventus's heart had been damaged. Master Xehanort had originally raised Ventus to become his vessel, but Ventus had proven to be too kind. Thus, Master Xehanort had split his heart into light and darkness, so that he could make use of him in another way. While he had succeeded in birthing Vanitas, Ventus had remained unconscious, broken after the removal of his heart. Though Master Xehanort had initially tried to discard Ventus after he failed to awaken, for some reason the boy had come to his senses. In order to cultivate the light in Ventus's heart, he had given him over to the care of Master Ericus, who believed in its absolute virtue. Though he and Master Xehanort didn't see eye to eye, Master Ericus had accepted Ventus gladly, and that was where Master Xehanort had met Terra. Terra's kindness, the intensity of his light, led him to seek strength. Long before, that fixation would beget darkness in his heart. Thus, Master Xehanort's vessel was chosen.
Master Xehanort, Ventus has gotten a lot better since then. Master Xehanort, Ventus has gotten a lot better since then. You shouldn't blame yourself for trying to save him,"
Terra offered. Master Xehanort looked up.
"Well, thank you, lad. You know how to put an old man's heart at ease."
The sincerity of this oh-so-thoughtful boy was plain on his face. Master Xehanort would need to usher him along slowly if he wanted to change that sincerity to agony and stain it with darkness.
"Master, why is Vanitas still free?" "Ah, yes. Well, I did my best to contain him the moment he emerged, but he managed to escape."
Master Xehanort nodded quietly as Terra finished his sentence.
"Vanitas uses the Keyblade to sow seeds of darkness, and now, you see, the world's teem with his ghastly underlings."
"The unversed," Terra gasped. He wasn't slow on the uptake. His light just prevented him from seeing lies for what they were.
"He has no control over the darkness in his heart. The Keyblade is not his to bear. He's an abomination beyond hope of salvation. Lend me your strength, Terra. Right this wrong that I have wrought."
Master Xehanort shook his head, playing up his grief. He knew Terra would never refuse the plea of a foolish old man, and that was why he wove bits of the truth into his false tale. "But I have no idea where to find him," Terra muttered, contemplating. He was so amusingly ensnared now, and Master Xehanort kept up the pressure.
"What I can tell you about Vanitas amounts to this. His darkness is drawn to the light, which he seeks to disrupt and then destroy. It stands to reason that he will strike next in the City of Light, Radiant Garden."
And thus the players would assemble on the stage.
"Don't worry, Master. I'll take care of Vanitas."
With a forceful nod, Terra donned his armor.
"I'm counting on you," urged Master Xehanort.
Terra bowed once more, then climbed aboard his Keyblade glider and soared away. Watching him go, Master Xehanort broke into deep, throaty laughter.
"It won't do for me to be late to the show."
Darkness loomed up behind Master Xehanort and swallowed him. Radiant Garden. Terra had never heard of a world by that name. Speeding along on his Keyblade glider, he arrived at his destination. Still, Terra hadn't expected Master Xehanort to take him so far into his confidence that he would disclose the truth. Terra was moved by his lament and confession of his mistakes. He needed to live up to the Master's trust. He would never have dreamed that Ventus, Vanitas, and the Unversed would possess such a connection. Terra reflected on when he first met Ventus and his broken heart. That was 3 years ago. Terra and Aqua were practicing in the Great Hall as usual. Training to become a Keyblade Master was grueling, but each day was fulfilling regardless. The two of them had heard an unexpected noise, the sound of the door opening. Master Ericus was farther inside the building, as far as they knew, and visitors from another world weren't just rare, they were non-existent. Terra and Aqua stopped what they were doing and walked over to where they could see the door. The Great Hall was on the 2nd floor, but the open colonnade made it impossible to see the doors down on the 1st floor. Standing in the open entryway were a boy with golden hair and an old man with a white beard. That was when they first met Ventus and Master Xehanort. While Master Xehanort stepped closer when Master Ericus came to receive them, Ventus stayed stock still in front of the doors. Master Ericus and Master Xehanort were discussing something as they walked down below. Terra could tell even after the two of them moved out of sight. Ven never budged, though. Terra and Aqua looked at each other. That boy, is he okay? Aqua asked.
I'll go see.
Terra quickly went to the lower level. He was a little happy to have visitors, whether older or younger. When Terra approached Ven where he stood in front of the doors, the boy didn't even raise his head. He simply stood there absent-mindedly. After a moment, lost as to what to do, Terra spoke.
I'm Terra. What's your name?
Ventus. Ven replied faintly, without looking at Terra.
Oh, you can talk! Aqua, come here!
Aqua, who had been watching worriedly from above, broke out into a smile when he called her. She hurried down the stairs and came up next to Terra and introduced herself. Hi, I'm Aqua.
Terra. Aqua.
Ven merely repeated their names.
So, are you here to train with us?
Terra's first question got no response.
Where are you from? Who is that man with you? Are you good with the Keyblade?
Terra didn't know why he'd asked so many questions at once. Maybe he had just really wanted to know about Ven. Either way, the boy suddenly grabbed his head and dropped to his knees, groaning and shaking his head.
Whoa, what's the matter?
Are you okay? Ven had simply moaned as Terra and Aqua stood in shock.
What did you do?
Master Ericus and Master Xehanort arrived after noticing the commotion.
Nothing. I just asked him some stuff.
Master Xehanort stepped past them and helped Ven to his feet, and Master Ericus explained to Terra and Aqua.
Ventus cannot tell you anything, because he cannot remember anything.
Terra and Aqua looked back toward the now unconscious boy in Master Xehanort's arms. Ven wouldn't wake again until much later. Terra had no idea Ven had such a secret. Back then, he was just happy to have a new friend who stuck to him like glue. Aqua even used to shake her head and say they were just like brothers. Vanitas was a fragment of Ventus's heart. Terra had to defeat him, for Ven's sake, and so as to not let down Master Xehanort. He set out for Radiant Garden at full speed.
It's dangerous to fight the darkness with light, my dear.
Aqua mulled over the fairy godmother's words as she sped along on her Keyblade glider. She muttered,
Light and darkness go hand in hand.
If so, then why was it wrong to embrace the darkness in your heart? She had learned that darkness should be wiped from existence. Terra couldn't become a master at the exam because he couldn't control his darkness. What exactly did it mean? When she ran into Terra and heard him talk about Cinderella, Aqua had been truly convinced he would never fall to darkness. And yet, in the Enchanted Dominion, the next world she had visited, Maleficent's account of him, hard as it was to believe, had given her an indescribable anxiety. There was no way it could be true. Maleficent's words didn't deserve her trust. Still, Terra? Terra's Keyblade glider was making a beeline for a world up ahead, one Aqua had yet to visit. She followed him.